Hello, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I am going to be speaking with Dr. Marc Sklar this afternoon about everything to do with things that you can try to optimize natural conception. And we're going to talk about ways to get pregnant without having to have fertility treatment and things that you can try. Dr. Marc Sklar is an expert in this, and he's speaking on behalf of Fairhaven Heallth, who are he's going to be joining from their account, and we'll talk about some of the products that they offer, as well as a very generous discount for our readers for people to try so that you can know about things that could potentially help optimize conception before having to go and see a fertility specialist, because so much of this can be overlooked. So I'm going to add him in now. Hello, welcome to those who are joining. Hello, Dr. Marc Sklar, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? So nice to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on today. It's a brilliant topic, and obviously you are the natural fertility expert. So please could you briefly introduce yourself and Fairhaven Heallth, and then we've got some excellent things to discuss to hopefully educate people on the things that they can try to optimize natural conception before needing to see a fertility specialist in a clinic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this topic is going to be wonderful for everyone today. Just briefly to say hi to everybody, I'm Dr. Marc Sklar. On all my social media platforms, I'm known as the fertility expert. And I've been in this space for close to 20 years, supporting women and couples from all over the world. And my goal is really to help couples determine what the underlying causes are that are making it more difficult for them to conceive. And to really support them and meet them where they're at, whether they want to try naturally or through some assisted technique. It's really my goal to support all the couples where they're at based on what their needs are. To really, the number one reason is to get them the goal, the results that they're looking for, which is really that baby in the end. And then I'm here representing Fairhaven Heallth today, which is an amazing supplement company, and much more beyond that. They provide so much educational information and tracking knowledge for all aspects of the baby making process, fertility and pregnancy related. And they have some amazing products that I use on a regular basis and feel super confident and comfortable recommending. And we'll probably end up talking about some of them throughout the conversation today.
Well, we will, but also Fairhaven have written 2 wonderful articles for us, which I'm going to link up to this so people can read further.
Beautiful.
One is around Baby Dance, the fertility lubricant, and I want to talk to you about what people should look for in a lubricant, how it may be able to help, and what ingredients people might want to steer away from, and why fertility lubricants are the ones to go for to not harm sperm. The other article, which Fairhaven Heallth have written for us recently, is all around men and supplementation to improve sperm quality, and how obviously there's been declines in sperm over the years, and lifestyle changes and everything that comes with it, because obviously it takes 2 to tango, and sperm quality is so important for conception. So we'll definitely talk about that too. But the first thing I wanted to kind of ask you was, how long should people try to conceive if they're in a heterosexual relationship naturally before they might seek help?
Yeah, there are some standard parameters that we typically give, and I'll share those, which are that if you're under 35 years of age, then trying for at least 1 year with timed intercourse, no birth control, and so forth. That's really the time frame. After that, then you could start to look for a little bit more assistance and support. And then if you're over 35, 6 months or longer. Now, with that being said, I don't want anyone to have to feel like they have to stick to these parameters. If one, you already know that you have some issues or concerns, like if you, from a teenager, you've always had irregular cycles, or you've always had severe pain during menstruation, or whatever other irregularity that you know that you have, then don't wait those markers. Go out and start to get and seek for the support that you're looking for now. There's no reason to just say, oh, well, they said if I'm under 35, I should just wait a year, so I'm just going to wait a year. if you already know that you're having issues, you don't know when you ovulate, whatever the circumstances are, then absolutely start to get support earlier. And then number two is, these women have this female intuition for a reason. We talk about it all the time. And if you know deep down something doesn't feel right, something's off, go ahead and look for more support. Or if you just want to be proactive in your fertility attempting, then why not just round out, go get your labs done, go get an evaluation, and check off all the lists and feel comfortable saying that, like, nope, everything looks good. We can keep trying and moving on.
Mm-hmm. I actually had that exact experience. So after 6 months, even though my husband and I were 30, I just felt like something was wrong and he thought I was being ridiculous. And it turns out that he has no sperm. So knowledge was power in that case, because we could have carried on trying for another 6 months just because we were we were sort of told or educated that you can try for a year. So we were very pleased to have, well, not pleased, but it was useful to have that knowledge, because it meant that we could then work out what our choices are. But I'm sure that for many people, that's just a kind of tick box check to say, okay, we're okay to potentially carry on trying to conceive naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might end up getting a little resistance, right? Like, I don't know what it was like for you, but you might, after 6 months, you might walk into your gynecologist's office and say, something doesn't seem right, or because of these reasons, I think I need to have some testing done now, and we need to investigate a little bit further. And it's not uncommon to get some resistance. Be like, no, you'll be fine. You're only 30. Just go back and keep trying. You have to push harder if that's the case, if that's the answer you get, or you need to find a different provider to support you to look a little bit more. And there's plenty of us out there, right? You might have to think outside the box a little bit, but the reality is if you get that wall put up in front of you, you need to find a way to knock it down, right? So you can't always just say, well, they said I should just go back. If you felt like something was off, then you just need to find a way to get the answers and the lab testing that you deserve and need.
Absolutely. So my next question for you is, what can people do to optimize the chance of conception from home?
Yeah, well, some of these are going to be basic things that hopefully many have just already heard, and we're reiterating and kind of setting that foundation a little bit more firmly for all of you. But the foundational things are probably no different for any health issue that we're all going through. We need to make sure that we're getting regular sleep, good quality sleep, and for a good length of time. We need to make sure that we're exercising, and that means both that we're not over exercising and we're not under exercising, right? It means both of those things. Additionally, we need to make sure that we're managing our stress levels, that we're not overworking and we're not running this crazy life. And potentially the most important piece of it is the diet piece, that we are taking care of ourselves from the inside out. So what are we putting inside of our bodies? What are we doing on that side of things? And that diet piece is really a very challenging one, or can be, because even though we often know what we need to be doing, it's, eating, the diet piece is an emotional piece. We have a lot of habitual things that come with it. And so it takes time to change those habits. It also takes a lot of patience and kindness with yourself, because you're going to slip up, you're going to mess up. And we just need to know that it's okay if we fall off one moment, that we're going to get back on the next. And that's all right. And it's just about trying to be as good as we can. It's not about always trying to be perfect, but eating whole foods, a lot of vegetables, a lot of healthy fats, good protein. And just like I mentioned with the exercise, overdoing it or underdoing, we could do the same thing with diet, right? We could starve ourselves and think that that's a good thing, or we can be overindulging and eating too much, getting too many calories, and thinking that's a good thing. We want to find that balance, and that balance is actually very different for each one of us. What I need and what you need and what somebody else needs is probably a little bit different. So it can take a little bit of time to figure that out. And you may need a little bit of guidance and support to help push you in the right direction as it pertains to that.
So one of those things is, of course, supplementation. And I know that the recommendation is normally to try and start taking supplements 3 months prior to conception. Obviously, it's good to start them at any point, isn't it? But we know that
Yeah.
taking a couple is not going to make a huge difference. You need to do it consistently over a period of time. Some of the products that you mentioned, or Fairhaven Health, have an array of incredible supplements which are all backed by science. And the reason I'm saying this is because I know that they're popular, especially in the States. And for 15% off, if anyone wants to look at them, I've put a link in our bio right now. And you can use code FHH15 if you'd like to buy any with 15% off. So one of their supplements is for men, and that's FH Pro for men. So what are the kind of things that you want to be looking for in supplementation for sperm quality?
Yeah, so I do want to let everybody know that I've been using this product, recommending this product for years because it works, right? And for men, I think this is something that is a key piece. So one of the beautiful things about it, I actually have it right here. One of the beautiful things about the FH Pro for men is that you don't have to piecemeal and pull all these different supplements together to get what you need. I used to have to do that for men because I couldn't find a product that had everything I wanted in the dosages that I wanted until I found the FH Pro for men.
A little bit of this to make up the right supplementation.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
They had bottles, 6 to 8 bottles, maybe even 10 bottles on their countertop because they needed this one and this one and this one. Well, the beautiful thing about this is it's a full multivitamin, so it gets all your basic nutrients. And then it has their fertility blend, which gets you all the key fertility nutrients that you need in addition to the regular multi-piece. One of the key things is the CoQ10 in here, which is a really nice dosage as well. And again, you don't have to worry. Men want things to be simple. And if you're trying to get men to take their supplements on a regular basis, they tend to put up a little bit of a fight when they have to take all these different things. So that's the other reason why I like this, is they don't have to think about it. They just say, okay, did I take them today or not? And if I didn't, let me take it. I do recommend, by the way, for everybody taking these, anytime it's a multi, that you take it with food. It's easier to digest.
Is it the same dosage for every man?
Yes, I start with, for everybody, the same dosage. The total here is 6 pills a day. I actually separate them 3 and 3 in 2 different meals, but you can take them all at the same time. And the research behind this is excellent. It really improves every parameter we need when we're looking at a semen analysis. It improves count. It includes motility. It improves morphology, volume. These are all things we really want to impact and change, which is why it's such a wonderful product, because it's all encompassing. Now, the only thing I do add to this, by the way, for men, okay, because there is also profound research to show that, I can't say the only thing I add, but one of the main basic things that I add to this for most men to improve count is fish oils. Essential fatty acids, omega oils. So I do add those to this because that's not part of this blend.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you touched on CoQ10. So that's good for sperm as well, isn't it? Because we know that that's good for egg quality as well.
Yeah. So it's great for men and women. It's a foundational nutrient that I recommend for everybody because it works on the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, which is what we need when we're trying to affect the aging process and the quality of the cells, so hence the quality of the sperm and the egg. So that is a key nutrient. Now that can potentially, you can potentially add more of that to this if we feel like you need it, as a side note, but it does have a good amount as just a foundational piece in the supplement.
Okay. And what about the female supplements from Fairhaven Health that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I love their sister one to it, their male and female counterpart. So this is the FH Pro for women.
Yeah.
Some key pieces of this, again, it is a full prenatal in advance as their basic. So for men, I said it was a multi. For women, I'm saying this is a full prenatal. So you don't need an additional prenatal on top of this. It would be too much, actually. Yeah. And it does have the CoQ10. It has folate, which is really important. It has myoinositol, which is also important for egg quality. And all of this is the nutrients have been picked because of the research around them. So that's how they've chosen the nutrients in here. And it's all focused on egg quality in this product. Now, you can also use this if you have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, because they do have a combination here of myoinositol and dechirioinositol, which and they have it in the appropriate ratios, and that is specifically used for PCOS. So that might be the only time where I do start to, whereas like for men, I'm really comfortable giving the FH Pro for men to almost every man. This would be something that I don't necessarily give to all women. I do look at their history. I do look at their labs. I look at their diagnosis, and then I start to decide, do I think this is an appropriate product for them or not? So there's some like nuances when it comes to that as well.
That makes complete sense. Thank you for that. Yeah. And for anyone who's joined and wants to look at these products, the link is in my bio. And also you can get 15% off with a code FHH15. The next thing I wanted to speak to you about was lubricant. So I know it's something that people can often be embarrassed to ask.
Yes.
The Baby Dance lubricant, what do you know about it, and how does that help, and how is that sperm friendly?
Yeah, so there are not many sperm friendly, fertility friendly lubricants out on the market in the world, in the entire world, regardless of where you are. The majority of lubricants you're going to find online or in the store are not fertility friendly. They have spermicide, they will kill the sperm, the pH is off. They're really just used as lubricants to make it easier to have intercourse, but they don't work on the sperm. So the beautiful thing about Baby Dance is it is not only just a lubricant, but it supports the sperm to get to where they need to go. Their research has actually shown that it helps it get through the vaginal canal and into the uterus. So that's what we want. We want it to not kill the sperm. We want it to be helpful for lubricating during intercourse. And in this case, it also is helpful for supporting the sperm to swim to where they need to go. It's also the one of, if not the only, paraben-free lubricant out on the market, which means it doesn't have the chemicals and the toxins that you might find in other lubricants as well. So it's not giving you those extra chemicals that none of us really want to have in our body. And that's something, by the way, that we didn't discuss as part of some foundational things, but the chemicals in our environment, the toxins that we're exposed to in our environment are a big issue. And many of the products that we use or ingest or put on our body have these phthalates and parabens and so forth. This does not. Baby Dance does not. It's also a water-based lubricant, which is much better than an oil-based lubricant.
And does it interfere with sex?
No, no. I mean, maybe other than you have to take out a little bit of time to apply it, get it, and use it. But outside of that, no. I mean, almost all couples have said it makes it easier, makes it more enjoyable. So no, it doesn't interfere in any negative way.
I forgot to mention the discount I mentioned before is on any of their products as well, so you can use it there. And so other ways, this is a question we had in advance, if you wouldn't mind answering it, other ways for people to boost sperm through lifestyle, through products, anything else that you can suggest? I think someone has just asked that above as well.
Yeah, so sperm are really sensitive and volatile. So they don't like to be too hot. So we want to make sure that the underwear you're using, are conscious of that. We also, I also believe I looked because I normally grab my phone for this, but I'm using my phone, so I can't grab it. But I often suggest that men take their phone and don't keep it on them, right, on themselves. So obviously, if you're going from point A to point B, you do need to hold it and maybe put it in your pocket. But wherever you get to a location, put it out on the table. Don't keep it in your pocket. Don't keep it near your pelvic area and your testes, because there is some research to show the EMFs coming off the phones can impact sperm health as well. all of these things, saunas, hot tubs, we don't want any of that. So these are some foundational things. I also think of like bike riding. If you're just going to go for a little bike ride, probably not a big deal, but long bike rides, I don't recommend either for the same reason. You can actually, if you are going to go on a bike ride, you can actually ice the testicles when you come back. I know that might sound odd, but it is very cooling. Most men say it feels fine. It's refreshing. And again, it's promoting the cooling side versus the heating of the testes. And the cooling will promote better, healthy, quality sperm versus, the heat. So those are some foundational things. But everything I mentioned before about exercise and diet and sleep and managing stress, all of these things are important variables as well to incorporate, whether male or female, into your lifestyle. Now, for men, exercise can actually, you don't have to be as careful with men with exercise. You might have to be careful of the type of exercise, but men can pretty much do as much exercise because it tends to promote testosterone growth, and higher testosterone will improve sperm count and quality. So those are things that we can do. So for men, you can just make sure you're lifting a little bit of weights or exercising a little bit more with some resistance, and that's absolutely fine as well.
And cutting out alcohol and smoking.
100%. Thank you for bringing that up. Smoking of any kind is a no-no, by the way, for everybody. So that will absolutely damage the sperm, and you might not see it in count, although after some time you probably will, but you're probably going to notice that first and foremost in the motility, the way the sperm swim, and the morphology, the way the sperm look. The majority of sperm that men produce are abnormal, meaning they don't swim well and they don't look normal. And so we don't want to add anything into the mix that is going to be an additional hindrance or impact in that direction. So absolutely getting rid of any type of smoking, marijuana or nicotine, and reducing, if not eliminating, the alcohol consumption as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. For people who are just giving those up now, how long would you say it would take the sperm to recover or replenish to be better sperm?
Yeah, I mean, I think a minimum of 3 months. You do regenerate sperm or create sperm every 24 hours. But that's not about the count there. We're looking about the quality, and the quality doesn't refresh, so to speak, that quickly. So we do want about 3 months, and that's a process called spermatogenesis, the amount of time that it takes for a sperm to impact the quality of the sperm, and get good quality sperm. So minimum of 3 months. You quit smoking, you quit drinking, give yourself 3 months, retest, see how the labs look, so you can compare it with the first, and then keep going. That doesn't mean you stop after 3 months. That means that's just the beginning. Then you keep going with those changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely makes sense. Could I just ask you, someone's asked a question up here. They've asked about FH Pro for men, and have read that, well, they're trying to avoid iodine because her husband has an allergy to it. What would you suggest here?
So if it does, I haven't even looked real closely. It does have some, yep, I see it right there. There's a little bit of iodine in it. Well, then if that's the case, if they have an allergy, you're going to have to start to pull those nutrients together separately, like I mentioned before. That's the beauty of this one, is you don't have to do that. And what I would do is, by the way, they do make some other products that aren't a multivitamin. And so you could actually get those other nutrients at the bottom through their other products. And then you'd avoid the whole multi-piece, and you don't even have to worry about the iodine piece of it. And those typically have like 2 to 3, maybe tops 4 nutrients in their products. And so you can easily pull those in and get the nutrients in a more simple way as well, and get all the proper dosages there.
I guess if she's got questions, Fairhaven Health will be able to answer those in terms of
absolutely
to make that mix, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you
but
so much.
They're straightforward because of the way they're labeled. Their products are, like motility boost and count boost. And so depending on what you need, I think you can straightforwardly find it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Marc. Then I was going to ask you about ovulation. So going back to women here, pinpointing that best time to have intercourse, what do you recommend for doing that? Because actually there is quite a small window, isn't there, in a month where you can get pregnant?
Very small window. And it's, we think that the window's larger. Now, I do often recommend so to keep it simple for everyone, I'll start that way. If you have a 28-day cycle and it's a regular, consistent cycle, you're probably ovulating somewhere between day 13, 14, or 15. And to also make it a little bit easier for everybody that we're not always having to say, oh, today's the day, now, we need to have intercourse now, is I add 2 days longer, and then I count 5 days back. So I get a 7 to 8 day span. So in this case, you would say you start on day 10 and you go to day 17 or 18. And my recommendation in that scenario is that you're having intercourse every other day. Sperm can stay alive for 3 to 5 days. It gives you a nice window of time. You don't have to always be timing everything and saying today is ovulation, so we can, we need to pinpoint it. And it makes it a little bit easier, less stressful, although you are having, a fair amount of intercourse over that week's time. So you do have to be okay with that. So that's one scenario. You can also use some trackers. Actually, Fairhaven makes a wonderful tracker called OvaQ. And the nice thing about the OvaQ is it's backed by science. It's monitoring your saliva changes.
Yep.
And your cervical mucus changes, the quality of them. And between both of those, it can pick out and monitor when you're ovulating, which is really nice. Many women use what's called the BBT, basal body temperature method. And it's absolutely fine, but it does there's a steep learning curve there. Like there's a lot of digestion of the information, trying to understand when, and it's hard if you're not used to reading it to realize, oh, I'm ovulating right now. It's usually after the fact, like, oh, I ovulated 2 days ago. And so that's not necessarily helpful unless you're used to seeing a pattern and you've studied it for some time. But the BBT can give us clinically additional information that might be useful that you wouldn't get in other places. So it's not like it doesn't serve a purpose. It does. It's just a bit harder to use that to track ovulation. Which is where the OvaQ makes it a little bit easier.
And so how do people use that?
The OvaQ?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's linked to an app that Fairhaven has, but you put it, there's 2 applicators or 2 probes, I should say, one for the mouth and one for the vagina. And I think it's a very quick, like 30 seconds, and it metabolizes the information and sends it to the app, and that's it. And then you look at the app and it starts to give you that information back. It translates it. And by the way, Fairhaven has great support when it comes to this. They have a whole team just devoted to supporting those individuals who are using the OvaQ as well. So it's really nice information, but it's very easy and quick. You don't have to interpret anything. The app does it for you and tells you when you're ovulating.
And do you do that test every day?
Daily, yes, daily. Yeah, because it needs to see the change, right? So it needs to know what it was before when you're not ovulating, and then monitor when you are. Yeah.
But I mean, you'll know this, you're the expert, but you need to know in advance about that window, don't you? So that you don't turn around and look at the BBT and think, damn, I've just missed the last 3 days.
Yeah, so it actually tells you in advance. The OvaQ starts to tell you when things are changing and tells you you're getting closer to ovulation.
Yeah. And
then tells you that you are. So once it starts to shift and tell you that you're closer to ovulation, you can actually start to have intercourse then. And then it will tell you that, now's the time. So it is a bit easier interpreting it.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's so helpful. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Marc Sklar whilst we're on the IG Live? If not, feel free to DM Fairhaven Health afterwards, or Dr. Marc. And the other thing I was going to ask you was support. I think that's one of the key things that we've talked about all the practical things that people can be doing, but when you're seeing patients, what do you advise for, and this is a good day to be talking about it on Valentine's Day, but how do you support one another emotionally as well as physically?
I think this is an important question, and something actually I've been talking a lot about is, first and foremost, we need to be there for each other. But I don't want couples to talk about their fertility every moment of every day. Every conversation shouldn't be about this, right? And so I think it can become a little too much if we do that. So one of my suggestions for couples is that you set aside time and put it in your calendar, in your schedule, that this is the time that we're talking about our fertility. Now, obviously, that might be a little bit different if you're actually in an IUI or IVF cycle. And you probably need, during that window of time, you do need to be having conversations a little bit more regularly. So taking that period of time out of the equation, you really shouldn't have to talk about fertility every month, every week or every day. Maybe once a month, maybe every other week, you set aside time, and you don't even have to use up the whole time. If you've allotted 30 minutes for it or an hour and you only needed 10 to talk about and check in with each other about things, then no reason to, drag it out. Additionally, I would say I think it's also really important that we draw lines in the sand, that we're not always having to revisit the same conversation with each other, because it gets very difficult on a relationship. So if you're always asking each other, well, it didn't work this month, what do we do now? Then that's challenging. So I would say to yourselves, like, if you're going to choose a specific path, direction, or support, then say to yourselves, how long are we willing to give that, whatever that is, and draw the line in the sand and say, oh, in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, whatever it is, we're going to revisit our progress and determine if we need to change course, continue, or whatever it is. And then you're not having to have this conversation over and over and over again. Now, you can change that if circumstances change, but at least you have a line and you're not having to just redo this all the time. So I think that's really important. Given that today's Valentine's Day,
Okay.
for those who are celebrating, I would say today's not the day to talk about it.
Yeah. Have a date night.
Have a beautiful day, enjoy each other. Even as much as I just said, don't have alcohol, have a glass of wine, enjoy it, right? Like, don't talk about it, don't stress about it today. And I think it's really important that we have those moments as well. And there's so much more information I love sharing about these sorts of things. Like, I think the burden of initiating and having intercourse shouldn't fall on one partner.
Mm-hmm.
I think that burden should be split up between both partners, and we all need to take a little bit more responsibility in that. I'm also a big fan of encouraging couples to have intercourse regularly, whether you're in your fertile window or not. So my recommendation is 1 to 2 times a week. And I think that you guys should be alternating who is initiating. So let's just say you want to have intercourse once a week, then just change weeks. 1 week it's my turn, 1 week it's her turn. And when they want, the first rule of that is you have to initiate at least once during that week. And the second rule is the other partner can't turn them down when they initiate.
I think this is a great thing to do.
Those are the 2 rules when it comes to switching, right? So the burden is not always on one person. You can't turn someone down, and it shares that burden, and it makes it a little bit easier of a process. So those are just some simple things I like to recommend.
Bring the fun back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's sound advice. Thank you so much. Now, before you go, just a couple of questions if you have time. One
Sure.
was around supplements to increase progesterone levels.
Really, my favorite piece or support for that, because I know that it works, is progesterone. Like, okay. I just think we need to take progesterone. Now, if you want to start with a natural progesterone cream, which is a much lower dose, and then work your way up if you need it, that's absolutely fine. Some of us might be just fine with those lower dosages, but some of us might really need a higher dose, which you're only going to get from a prescription. And the reason I say this is not that there's potentially not some other herbs and so forth that can work that I might try, but one, I've got to know the person to make those recommendations. But 2 is that I just know progesterone works. Like, if you give it, it's relatively safe, it works. Why not use it and make things a little bit less stressful in that regard?
Okay, thank you. And the last question is egg quality. Improving egg quality. We've obviously talked about the women's supplements. Would you mind just recapping on that, please? And I'll just let people know that go to the link in bio if you're late to this and you want 15% off any of the Fairhaven Health supplements or other products, then use FHH15 for 15%. But please tell us more about the supplements.
Yeah, I mean, I come back to it was designed for improving egg quality in women. They have a new research study that was done that shows it does exactly that and improves success rates of in vitro fertilization. So FH Pro for women is my go-to here. I don't use it for everyone, but the caveat is that I'm analyzing lab work and history and so forth to determine should I be doing something different for somebody. But this is my go-to off-the-shelf recommendation of places to start for that.
Well, I think you've given us brilliant food for thought. So thank you so much. And I hope that everyone's found it useful. I certainly have. And yeah, wishing everyone luck on their fertility journey. And as you said, take today to enjoy Valentine's Day rather than fertility.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And all the better if ovulation times up with it, but enjoy each other. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.